In its upcoming report tackling Kremlin's media capture in Southeast Europe, supported by the National Endowment for Democracy, the Center for the Study of Democracy zooms in on the scope, means, and reach of Russia's sharp power influence through the phenomenon of media capture in 8 Southeast European countries, including EU members, Bulgaria and Croatia, as well as EU aspirants, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo. We assess the instruments, channels, and narratives of Russian disinformation, as well as the impact of Kremlin messaging on societal perceptions in the Western Balkans. The key instrument of Kremlin's media capture is the cultivation of opaque local networks of patronage, which have captured power through ownership or economic pressure over key local media groups. In addition, the Kremlin employs auxiliary tools of media capture such as tapping into and instrumentalizing advertising revenue, financial capture, and benefiting from pro-Russian cultural, ideological, linguistic affinities of journalists in some of the countries such as Serbia, Republika Srpska in Bosnia, Bulgaria and North Macedonia, which is cognitive capture. Russia amplifies its media capture influence in the region through spreading and supercharging propagandistic and divisive narratives and disinformation. While Russian disinformation narratives are tactical and linked to specific current events, for example, the war in Crimea or COVID-19, there are some key Russian disinformation themes that are commonly disseminated across the Balkan countries' media landscapes. These appeal and try to spur emotional responses from the local population and are often based on divisive local issues, ethnic, social, and economic fissures, or pro-Russian interpretation of history. For example, Russia is presented as a politically, militarily, and economically superior alternative to the West, facilitated by Vladimir Putin's masterful global leadership. Moscow is also portrayed as the unwavering friend and ally of the Balkan states. Mutually beneficial relations are underwritten by Slavic Orthodox bonds of history, culture, religion, and language. The EU, on the other hand, is shown as weak and divided. It is said to wreak havoc on regional stability and to be unreliable in its promises to support politically and economically the Southeast European states. NATO is represented as requiring subordination and posing a threat since it aims to incite military conflict with Russia, thus turning the region into a potential battlefield.
In addition to the similarities of Russia's media capture instruments, channels, and narratives, there are important differences in the level of susceptibility to Russian sharp power among different countries in the Balkans.
There is a sort of a diffusion map of Russian media capture on the Balkans with a twofold distinction between susceptible enablers and unyielding inhibitors. Susceptible enablers encompass countries in which the high level of receptivity to Russia's media capture also promotes its regional expansion. This category includes Serbia as a key pivot of Russia's malign media activities in Southeast Europe, Bosnia and Herzegovina as a splintered facilitator of Russian disinformation, North Macedonia and Montenegro as smaller but strategically consequential soft spots, Bulgaria as a swing loyalist, and Croatia as an uncanny brinkman. Unyielding inhibitors, on the other hand, include countries in which the low level of receptivity to Russia's media capture acts as a brake on its domestic dissemination and regional circulation. These countries are represented by Albania and Kosovo as resistant hedges vis-à-vis Moscow's influence in the region. So what can be done to stem the rise of authoritarian disinformation in the Balkans?
Ultimately, the EU should strengthen its commitment to the accession of the Western Balkan countries into the Union as a key buffer against Russia's and China's growing influence in the region. The EU should exercise greater vigilance and monitor the incursion of Russian and Chinese state-owned media into the European information space and into the information space of the Balkans, in particular the Western Balkan countries. There should be greater coordination between NATO and the European Union with regard to furthering the Euro-Atlantic integration of the Western Balkans. In particular, these two institutions should focus on closing the existing fissures between the countries in the region, like in the case of Serbia and Kosovo, and governance gaps within the countries.